Enter a world of perilous dungeons and epic journeys. Meet Eon, an aspiring adventurer, and his legendary mentor, Tor. Together with the world's strongest adventurers, they face the daunting Mad Gate, but an insane god's machinations threaten to disrupt their quest. Trust will be tested and sacrifices will be made. Join Eon on a thrilling adventure where dreams come at a price. A blue-haired boy stands in front of a dazzling portal, awing at the sight. With his sword sheathed and his allies surrounding him, he marches on into the light. Inside, when he sees the strongest adventurers defeat fearsome monsters, he can't help but be envious. Looking on at their dauntlessness and insurmountable power, he is left wondering only one thing: how can I become like them? These powerful adventurers that have the boy completely starstruck are known as the Four Horsemen. Nah, the simping goes crazy. Leaping forward at a monstrous dragon with her blade is the crimson-haired Alexandria, brutalizing the creature with one clean blow. Having the world adventurer rank of 4, her fierce personality is unmatched. Her extraordinary feat is followed by a fang-toothed beast of a man, who strikes his 4-pronged fork into the ground and lets out a purple burst of energy, sending the massive horde of goblins flying. This is Silenus, having the world adventurer rank of 5. While the boy is dazzled by the prowess of these members of the Horsemen, he is told by a brown-haired knight-like person to not drool over them so much and embarrass him. This is Tor, the world adventurer rank 3. The blue-haired boy named Eon, being Tor's personal assistant, apologizes to him for being so giddy about it, remarking that with the world's strongest being right in front of him, he can't help but get excited. Dude, get a grip, be cool. Having an optimistic smile on his face, Eon tells Tor that he wants to become just like him and the others one day, while the latter praises the boy about his dream being a worthy one. Silenus and Alexandria come marching there. The girl asks Eon if he has any mana potions left, while the man just wants to know if he brought along his snacks. Ah, classic men behavior. Of course, being a good personal assistant, the boy goes through his inventory and brings out a mana potion, along with a drumstick. Going off on the boys, the fierce Alexandria scolds Silenus for snacking at such a time and reprimands Tor and Eon for lounging around. She asks the two if they plan on only watching the entire time and think that the S+ ranked dungeon is just a joke. Just then, a giant armored figure with glimmering hair shows up, being Arian, the world adventurer rank 2 and the last of the horsemen. He remarks that the dungeon doesn't really feel like it's S+ rank. They're really suffering from success. Huh. All the others agree with him, as the monsters seem to go down pretty easily. This supposed S+ ranked dungeon doesn't even feel like it would qualify for being an S rank one, having monsters that are closer to A rank. This is confusing, as the Emperor himself had raided the dungeon and labeled it the Mad Gate. They said the thing. Arian thinks that it must be dangerous if 4 of the strongest adventurers were ordered to clear the dungeon, especially since they all felt the aura of an infernal lord at the entrance. With a worried look on his face, Eon wonders about this entity. An infernal lord is one of the 3 kings that created the monsters and the dungeons that host them. No one has ever met this being before, but if the S+ ranked dungeon is really as dangerous as it was made out to be, then one might be here. Don contemplates what he is going to do if an infernal lord shows up, given that he can't even kill one of the dungeon's monsters on his own. Seeing the boy with such an expression, Tor tells him that he recognizes that scared face as he has been his assistant for years now. The man assures the boy that he has never let anything happen to him on their missions before, and that isn't going to change now. Being guaranteed Tor's protection, Eon thanks him. Ah, what good friends. Surely nothing goes wrong with them, right? Right then, a massive shower of flames comes crashing down behind the group, revealing a monstrous beast made of volcanic substances. The creature announces, "You have come seeking the treasure of the Mad Gate, but none of you understand its true nature. Here, only madness is rewarded." Elsewhere in a whirling pool of galaxies, a mysterious figure sits atop a throne. With a grin on his face, he removes his hat, excited to see who makes it. The 4 horsemen stand prepared before the mighty beast, while Eon seems to cower away. Alexandria pulls up her sword, remarking how that's more like it. As she readies herself to take on the dungeon boss, the volcanic being makes his move. Suddenly, the ground below the girl shatters, erupting into a burst of lava. Caught completely by surprise, Eon is unable to move. Does bro even do anything? Luckily for him, Tor notices this just in time. Holding his weapon in one hand, the horseman leaps to the rescue of his personal assistant. He grabs the boy and gets him out of harm's way, revealing that the dungeon can manipulate the earth. Being carried away to safety, Jan can't help but be shocked at the tremendous pace of things, knowing that he would already be dead if it wasn't for Tor. Dude has a personal knight in shining armor. With a dismayed look on his face, the boy then calls for Alexandria. "Shut the hell up." A ferocious voice shouts out from amidst the endless screams of smoke. Out comes the girl, yelling to not piss her off even more than she already is. As she charges at the fearsome foe, Jan feels relieved that his comrade is alive and kicking, reminding his personal assistant that they are the Four Horsemen. Tor assures him that an attack like that won't be enough to take down Alex. However, he is a bit concerned as taking down the monstrous flaming creature standing before them would need a lot of power to do so. Coming down towards the rest of his allies, Tor proclaims that it's time to take the offensive. He tells Jan that he's going to have to let him go for now, but that you mustn't worry as they will kill this thing before it has the chance to get the boy. Getting motivated by his sir's words, Jan leaves for the ground, convinced that it will all be okay as long as Tor says so. However, he ends up snapping his ankle upon landing and bursts into tears, as the boy holds his leg in immense agony. A giant flaming projectile comes flying towards him. They got nukes. This time, it is Silenus who protects Eon by stopping the attack in its way by his giant four-pronged fork. The ferocious man then assumes a stance as if he is going to throw his weapon, confusing the boy as their foe is a volcanic creature. Silenus throws the fork bound with a purple aura at the dungeon boss, striking it at the torso. Sure enough, it goes right through the monster and lands on the other side. However, that was the intent all along, coming into contact with the ground beneath the beast. The four-pronged fork explodes with a massive burst of energy, shattering the area it landed on. Getting his grounding removed right from under him, the dungeon boss sinks into the floor. Arian then arrives there, commending Silenus for his good aim, letting out an ominous green aura. To the point of almost being black, the armor-clad horseman calls out, "Death's grip." Suddenly, a dark shadow appears on the battlefield, looking exactly like the dungeon boss. Having been formed out of Arian's skill, the shadow envelops the flaming monster and renders it unable to move, while the beast is made to stay still. Alexandria comes rushing there. Shouting out to not forget about her, the girl announces that she is going to rip the giant shit to shreds. "Oof, she making me feel things with the feistiness." Alexandria puts her feet into the ground and jumps forward, cutting up the dungeon boss's arms into stakes with her masterful sword skills. Looking on from above, Tor brings up his hammer, remarking how easy his fellows have made things for him. As lightning starts enveloping him and enlarges his weapon, the adventurer can't help but grin. He proclaims that the perfect target is one that can't move and comes crashing down the beast's head with his gigantic hammer. Sparks fly everywhere and smoke encapsulates the battlefield, leaving the four horsemen standing tall as the victors. Eon looks on, utterly awestruck. While the adventurers banter, the boy can't help but be impressed at how the four of them took down a dungeon boss that powerful like it was nothing. Though at this moment, he feels bad about himself and can't help but think that he just got in the way. "I really am useless," Jan mutters with a disappointed look. Bro's going through his depression arc. Just then, an ominous voice congratulates the adventurers for their feat, announcing that they are as greedy as always for coming to claim his power and riches. Belonging to the Infernal Lord, the voice informs the four horsemen that they are very close, left with only one phase left between them and his dungeon's gift. Telling them that they all seem like such good friends, the Infernal Lord invites them to play a game. An altar covered by a purple cloth reveals itself, followed by the Infernal Lord instructing the four horsemen that the game will decide which of them will die. Picked amongst themselves, the person they choose is to be sacrificed on the altar, with the dungeon's gifts locking away forever if they fail to play the game. While Iam is overcome with a despaired look, the figure in the other realm pulls out two Joker cards and proclaims, "Let's have some real fun. Shit's about to go down." With the Infernal Lord's words about one of them deserving to die still echoing in his mind, Jan asks Tor if they should just leave the dungeon. The boy hesitantly remarks that they wouldn't want it to close and trap them here when he notices something. His sir isn't even looking him in the eyes, as if overcome by a strong guilt. As he stares at his boss with disappointed eyes, Arian tells him that Tor understands what must be done. He proclaims that they are the four horsemen, the irreplaceable heroes of the world, while Eon is just Tor's errand boy of which he can always get another one. These words stab the boy like a knife, who panics and starts swinging around his sword, asking the four horsemen if they are all insane. Jan can't believe that they would sacrifice him just for the promise of the dungeon's gifts. He tells them that they are heroes who are supposed to be protecting the innocent, not murdering them. While the boy pours his heart out, the adventurers just look at him with indifference. Dudes would rather murder bro than listen to him right now. That's got hurt. Tears flowing down his face, Eon informs the four horsemen that he looked up to all of them and asks how could they do this, wondering if they really think that all the power in the world is worth what they are about to do. Suddenly, a blade pierces through the boy's chest. It is none other than Tor himself, who proclaims with an unforgiving voice, "Yes, it is." Eon's body then gets dragged by Silenus towards the altar, with his blood and tears splattering the ground. As the boy's consciousness slips away, he is left pondering why it ended up like this. Even Tor, who had promised that he would protect him, is nowhere in sight living up to his word. While Eon's near-lifeless body lies on the altar, Arian instructs Alexandria to slit his throat. The annoyed girl approaches the boy, complaining about always being made to do the dirty work but sharpening her blade while she does so. Coming up onto the wheezing kid, the adventurer brings up her sword into the air and is about to finish the job. Suddenly, Eon unexpectedly moves, throwing away the sword from Alexandria's grip. The blade flies off and strikes Silenus in his face, cutting up his eye. Enraged, the girl grabs the boy by the throat and tells him to just give up and die already. Nope, getting a little too crazy for me. However, Eon doesn't seem to be scared anymore. Gazing at the adventurer with a fearsome stare, he proclaims that the douchebags will get what they deserve one day. The boy tells Alexandria that he sees now that the four horsemen are not true heroes, remarking that the ones who should be on the altar are all of them. Eon's words freezes up the girl for a second when Silenus comes ferociously charging there, asking the little monkey if he realizes what he has done. Letting out his fury, the horseman penetrates the boy's chest with his massive fists. However, he isn't satisfied with just one strike. Continuing his barrage for as long as he sees fit, Silenus rips apart the kid's body, all the while Arian and Alexandria look on with indifference, and Tor tries to avert his eyes from the gruesome death. Oh, now he feels remorse. Fading away and closing his eyes, Eon doesn't regret the things that he said as they chose to kill him with hardly a thought. In his dying moments, he wonders if power truly defines the worth of a life, if he truly deserved to die just because he was weaker than the others. If that is how things are in this world, Eon wishes that he will be stronger in his next life. At this point, the boy no longer feels any pain and just drifts deeper and deeper into a cold abyss. Opening his eyes, Eon finds himself in the whirling pool of galaxies and thinks that it's the afterlife. He arrives in front of a giant golden gate with a throne in front. Suddenly, the mysterious entity wearing a hat greets the boy by his name, congratulating him on winning the game. With an ominous energy bursting forth everywhere, the white-haired figure lets out a massive grin. He then announces, "Welcome to the Mad Gate." They said the thing again. "Let's go." Eon stands in the cold abyss known as the Mad Gate, having never heard of such a place. The mysterious entity reveals that it is a place that exists at the border of logic and madness, being something that someone like the boy wouldn't be able to find. Hearing these words, it clicks for the kid. This voice is none other than the infernal lord that spoke in their heads in the S+ ranked dungeon. Gritting his teeth, Eon says that it's because of him that he drifts off. Holding 2 Joker cards in his hand and still grinning, the entity tells him to go on and finish his sentence. The man then reminds Eon that he wasn't the one who sent him here. Rather, his friends were the ones who performed the deed. Ouch, but I'm not holding back. Hearing these words, the boy is hit with the realization that the infernal lord is correct. The 4 horsemen had sacrificed him at the altar without any remorse. And for what? Power and wealth. Things that they already had in copious amounts. Eon laments that he looked up to such people in his past life and is feeling down. Suddenly, the hat-wearing madman tells him not to beat himself up so much and reminds the boy what he said earlier. Spinning his fingers around like a maniac, the infernal lord reiterates that Eon won the game, making the latter look on in pure confusion. Just explain already, dude. Decide which of you deserves to die and sacrifice them on the altar. This is what the madman had instructed the group earlier. However, all of his favorite games have a common rule. Only one person wins. The one that would be least expected to win them. Plot twist. Pushing his hand deep into his magical hat that doesn't tear, the infernal lord pulls out a bunch of glowing keys. He announces that as the winner, he grants Eon the power of the Mad Gate. His power. Listening to the man continuing to rant on, the boy asks him just who he is. The entity responds with a massive grin and glowing purple eyes, revealing that he is the infernal lord of insanity, the Mad King. Eon then questions if any gift given to him wouldn't just be wasted, given that he was killed. Man does have a point. Wrong, declares the man, proclaiming that the boy can be reborn into a new life, one where he is strong. As the four keys jam together and glow even brighter, the Infernal Lord sits back on the throne and reveals that this gift doesn't come without a price. Like all good things, it requires a sacrifice. In this case, it is the fact that the Mad King's powers rely on insanity. So, using them too much might end up making Eon slip away from sanity into madness. Though, the Infernal Lord is of the view that the sacrifice is far better than just staying dead, and asks the boy what he thinks. Will he accept the gift and become strong, or will he embrace the lonely void of death? These options are presented to the kid that was betrayed by his supposed friends not too long ago. Surely this is an easy enough choice, and stupid morals don't get in the way, right? Staring at the keys to the Mad King's powers lying before him, Jan thinks back on how he has been expendable his entire life. Everyone called him useless and weak, and maybe they were right. Despite this, the boy never stopped trying and thought that by working for someone as strong as Tor, he could learn something. However, nothing changed in the end, and he just fell victim to the greedy douchebags. Originally supposed to finally return home after the dungeon, Jan was deprived of his yearning by the irreplaceable heroes in the Four Horsemen. With a ferocious look on his face, the boy proclaims that he will show them and asks the Mad King to give him his powers. Finally, Dobu choice, no longer caring what it takes, Eon just wants to return so he can show everyone that he can change. And so, the kid grasps the shining keys, beginning to glow the same purple glow in his eyes as the Infernal Lord. Right as the keys enter Eam's grip, the very fabric of the dimension he stands in starts to shatter. The Mad King lets out the widest grin, with his entire being and especially eyes glimmering with a purple aura. He declares the accord between them to be perfect, assuring the boy that he has made the right choice. Then, the gigantic golden gate behind the Infernal Lord starts to open, shining a bright light onto Eon. Getting up from his throne and walking towards the boy, the Mad King tells him that as one game ends, another begins. Crossing Eon, the man bursts into a crazed laughter. Throwing the two Joker cards he was playing with into the air, he expresses his excitement to see how Eon does in his new life. The light from the Golden Gate continues to erupt and envelops the boy, all the while the Mad King's laughter echoes into the shattering dimension. At this moment, Eon can't help but wonder that if the second chance is real, could he really do it? With the two Joker cards dissipating into the blinding light, the boy questions, "Can I prove all of them wrong? Have some confidence, my guy." Over with the Four Horsemen, they stand over the boy's bloodied body placed atop the sacrificial altar, sensing the Infernal Lord's aura to have disappeared completely, with nothing happening. The group is left wondering if they got played by the voice and think that there was never any reward, while Tor questions if they killed Eon for nothing. The rest want to go around checking to see if anything has changed. They really cooled and care less lol. Arian insists that Silenus get medical attention but gets told to screw off by the beastly man, covering his bloody eye with a piece of cloth. Near the altar, Alexandria starts walking away, complaining about the mess of the boy's body. Tor also towers over the kid's corpse there and is told by his fellow horsemen to come along, given that there is nothing that can be done now. As the four adventurers march off, Hyun's body starts to ooze out a purple aura and his blood begins to stir around. The boy then sees an alert, congratulating him. A menu appears in front of Eon, informing him that he has been gifted the system of the Mad Gate by the Mad King. This is followed by a prompt that tells the kid that he will be reborn at level 1. As the boy wonders what it even means, he suddenly remembers. The crazy Infernal Lord had really done what he said he would and brought him back. Remarking what a miracle it is, Eon gets up and feels relieved that the Mad King wasn't lying. Lying on a mountain of corpses, the boy wonders where he is, making the mistake of looking around. Utterly startled, Jan is left confused on why there are so many dead bodies around him. Just then, the menu from earlier gives him a new tutorial quest. It says to exterminate the 20 raiders that pillaged Pulro's village and shows him his current progress of 0/20th. Even more baffled than before, he doesn't understand what raiders the system means. Suddenly, Jan turns back and witnesses a sight of a village enveloped in giant flames. "It can't be," he mutters, while the Mad King looks on, wondering excitedly how the boy is going to play this. Man's more excited than the revived Yude. Eon tries to understand what's going on, when a blobby creature comes out of his menu window, scaring the ever-living crap out of the boy. Having 4 octopus-like limbs and 2 horns on its head, the blob starts laughing for getting such a reaction out of the scaredy cat. Though, Eon isn't amused at all. Putting his palm outward, the boy demands the creature tell him what it is and where it came from. Understanding that the kid is on edge after being reborn, the blob proudly announces that he is Kaorios, the Dream Eater. The proud demeanor soon changes into a cutesy pet-like one, as the creature allows Eon to call him K, revealing that the Mad King sent him to guide the boy through the system of the Mad Gate. The creature asks the boy if he wants to become stronger. Looking back on how he was never enough, Eon replies, "I do." With these words from the boy, K's eyes begin to glow a bright blue, proclaiming that he will teach him how to rise to the top. The creature then explains to Eon that this system is the gift the Mad King bestowed upon him after he died and was reborn. Revealing it to be a game, K elaborates that the Infernal Lord wouldn't give all of his power to the boy at once. It is something that the revived kid needs to earn, which is what the system of the Mad Gate will let him do, as the Mad King channels his power through it to him. As of right now, Eon is at level 1 and can gain experience points or XP by defeating enemies, completing quests, etc. in turn. This will increase his level and make him stronger. Hearing this, the boy gets confused and asks exactly what K means when he says stronger, just as the creature remarks that its abilities and natural attributes. 3 blood-covered figures come marching on out of the flaming village, dragging a corpse along with them. Dudes playing life on hardcore mode. Approaching Eon, they wonder if he is a survivor and question why his clothes look different than all the villagers. Suddenly, one of them says that it doesn't matter either way as the kid needs to die. Seeing this, Kay tells the boy that this is the perfect chance to test out his abilities. However, Eon does what he would have done in his past life and starts blitzing off. The blob asks where he is going off to, while the 3 ominous men decide to give the runner a good chase. Going inside the village with corpses lying all around, the revived boy hides in one of the broken buildings. Suddenly, Kay appears before him and asks why he ran. Though he is told by the scared boy to shut up as the attackers from earlier will hear him. Bro is still afraid. What a scaredy cat. Coming inside the building, the blob tells Eon not to worry as only those touched by madness can see or hear him, reminding the kid that he didn't answer the question of why he ran. While Eon tries to formulate his words, Kay makes him remember that he proclaimed that he wanted to change in this new life. Suddenly, half of the creature's body turns into the Mad King, roaring out at the kid and demanding to know if that was a lie. Gritting his teeth, Eon remarks that it wasn't and is about to say something. However, Kay interrupts him and tells the boy to get up. The blob tells him that it doesn't matter if it's because he's afraid of dying again, or if it is something else. Either way, the Mad King didn't revive the boy so he could spend his life running again. Kay then proclaims, "I will show you how to kill them." "Ooh, show me too." Meanwhile, the 3 men roam around the village and think that maybe one of their other fellows found the kid. Suddenly, one of them senses a presence in a nearby building. As none of the others saw anything, he tells them to stay there while he goes to take a quick look. Readying his blade, the man slams the door open and finds the cloaked boy with his back turned. He lets out a ferocious bloodlust, announcing that the kid is coming with him. Hearing these words, Eon lets out a massive grin, reminiscent of the Mad King himself. With his back still turned to the man standing at the door, Eon throws a doll towards him. As the attacker stares at the toy wearing a pink maid-like dress with its blonde hair, he remembers how this wasn't just any other doll. Back when he was living a crime-free, peaceful life in his village, the man's daughter used to play with the exact same doll. However, this all came tumbling down when their village went up in flames after a horde of monsters attacked. Albeit trying his best to fend off the creatures, the man wasn't able to save what he loved the most, forced to watch his daughter and her favorite doll getting burnt to a crisp. Now, standing behind Eon, the man grasps the little toy in his hands. Furious, he demands to know where the boy got it. Suddenly, the doll begins to talk, referring to the man as Daddy. It asks the attacker why he is doing this, why he is killing all these people. Hearing this, he gets frozen in place. Dropping the doll and his blade, the blood-covered man looks on at the cloaked person standing before him. Just then, Eon turns around, revealing the doll's face behind the hood. With a monstrous grin, the ominous figure asks the man why he has become like this. Seeing this, tears start welling up in the attacker's eyes and he mutters, "Elaine." Right then, the cloaked doll shouts out and inquires just how much blood is on his hands. With these words, the former lets out a horde of bodies on the ground that start scratching and crawling their way on towards the man. Oof, dude's going way too brutal. Love it. Looking at the deformed corpses dragging on the floor, the attacker realizes that these are all the villagers that he had killed without a single ounce of remorse. As the fruits of his bad deeds stare at him, the man apologizes for being a terrible father. Backing up from the corpses, he begins to cry, remarking that he doesn't know how things ended up like this. Thinking back on that fateful day, the attacker tells Elaine that nothing's been the same ever since he lost her. He was never able to forget her voice on that night, and the blood-curdling screams still haunt him. While the monsters lit his house and dragged him off, Elaine kept shouting out for her dad to help her from burning, but never got the help she needed. Since that day, the man doesn't know what happened to him, but he has completely lost himself. With a creepy smile on his face, the attacker now faces the corpses, asking the cloaked Elaine if she can forgive him for what he has become. Suddenly, a sword pierces his neck from the left and goes out through the right. Ouch, that sounds a little painful. No. Left in a mess of blood and tears, the man falls dead to the floor. Pulling out his blade, Jan tells the attacker that unfortunately, there is no forgiveness for a murderer like him. Right then, the system of the Mad King pops up and reveals an active skill named Hallucinate. Being level 1, this ability uses 1 madness and allows the user to make its victims see their deepest fears for 30 seconds. It can be implemented up to 5 enemies at a time and requires eye contact to be activated. Using this, Eon has completed one of his 20 kills for the quest. Back when the man barged in through the door, Kay told Eon to use this skill as they had made eye contact. Following this instruction and making his eyes glow a purple aura, the latter looks at the man to cast Hallucinate. As the attacker drops his weapons and falls to the ground, the blob explains that he is currently caught in an illusion that the boy fabricated. Unless he breaks free, this is Eon's chance to execute the scum. However, upon bringing his blade to the man's neck, the kid hesitates. As Kay asks him why he is getting cold feet now, Jan remarks that he doesn't feel right about this. Despite having slain beasts before, this was new territory for him as it was never like this. Not only was his target a human, but he was also defenseless. So, says the angry blob, damn, sounding like the horseman out here. He reminds the boy what these men did to those innocent villagers. Kay asks Eon if he really thinks that people like them deserve mercy, and if they showed even an ounce of that compassion towards their victims. The blob then questions the boy, will you let your pure heart stand in the way of your rise to power? Hearing these words, Eon grits his teeth and puts the man out of his misery. Standing outside the building, the other 2 men see their fellow named Igor fall dead to the ground and get alerted. As they stand there, Eon comes marching out, leaving the men confused that a kid like him was able to kill Igor. The boy bursts forth with an ominous energy, realizing that Kay is right and that there's no time to empathize with these monsters. With the Mad King's aura enveloping him, Jan proclaims, if I want to become stronger, I need to change now. With these words, the boy's eyes begin to glow purple once again, and the 2 men get caught in his hallucination, seeing ugly and disfigured monsters. Along with rattling snakes wrapping at their feet, the raiders are frozen in place. Man brought nightmares to a close combat fight. This time, Jan doesn't hesitate one bit. In a quick flash, he pulls out both his blades and slashes the men's necks. Snapping back to reality, the raiders witness blood splurging from themselves everywhere and fall to the ground. Complimenting the boy for a job well done in killing the 2 so quickly, Kay tells him that 3 are down, leaving only 17 more to go. Covered in blood and holding a stern expression on his face, Eon towers over the corpses of his victims. He asks the blob what the system means when it says that using the Hallucinate ability costs 1 madness. Kay explains that while most magic users depend on mana or some other energy source to fuel their abilities, things are a little different for him. Since Eon draws power from the Mad Gate and has abilities related to it, using them costs madness and works in reverse compared to the magicians. As the boy is quite a sane person, his madness bar starts at 0. So, instead of depleting, the bar goes higher the more abilities he uses. Consequently, the more the kid will slip from his sane self into insanity. Hearing this, Jan realizes that the more he uses the power given to him, the crazier he will get, remembering the Mad King's words and how he already warned him about it. The boy then asks Kay what happens if or when the madness bar reaches 100. With a mischievous smile on his face, the blob just tells him that it is something that he will have to discover on his own. Just answer, dude. Not saying a word in response, Jan just turns around and starts walking. Kay rushes behind, asking where they are going. Where do you think? Says the boy, remarking that there are still 17 monsters left in this village. He announces that it is time for them to go hunting. The raiders gather around, getting asked by their boss if is all of the survivors. They assure him that it should be, as the entire village was swept by them. With all the remnants lined up, the boss commends his underlings for a perfect job and tells them to keep the ladies that will fetch a decent price. With a monstrous grin, he then makes a thumbs down gesture and announces to kill everyone there's not a woman. Just then, A dragging noise echoes across the field. The underling briefing the boss directs the latter's attention to the source of the noise, which is the cloak Ian, tubbing the bodies of the two men he killed earlier, leaving a trail of their blood on the ground. Dropping the corpses in front of the boss, the boy tells him how he felt bad about killing his friends at first. However, after witnessing what the douchebags are doing right now, he thinks that what he is doing is maybe the right thing after all. They went and messed up now. Seeing the kid's confidence, the boss inquires what an adventurer is doing this far out in the country and wonders if he thinks himself to be a hero. With an annoyed look on his face, the raider tells Eon that he must have a death wish to show himself out in the open like this. While the boss continues to rant on, the boy just continues to count the number of foes. 15, 16, 17. He realizes that all the raiders he needs to kill to complete the quest have gathered in one place. Telling Kay that it seems like an easy hunt, Eon puts his hand on his sword. Originally, he had thought that facing all these enemies alone would make him scared. But now, for some reason, the boy feels nothing. In this emotionless state, Eon unsheaths his blades and blazes his eyes with a purple aura, casting Hallucinate. By doing so, he makes eye contact with the underling raiders standing behind the boss and takes them out of the fight. Actual cheat codes, dude, what the heck? Left without anyone to jump in before him, the latter takes out his two blades as well and prepares to fight the adventurer. Ian rushes at the raider, and the four swords shared between the two collide, holding the blades at a standstill. He asks the boss if he is proud of what they are doing by picking on the defenseless. Breaking up the impasse, the raider leaps back, remarking that he does what he must as it is an opportunity for him. Hearing this, the boy thinks that the boss sounds just like Tor. Bursting forth with an unprecedented fury, Eon proclaims that people's lives aren't just stepping stones. Suddenly, he changes his target from the boss and leaps towards the frozen underlings while the raider questions why the boy is stopping. Of course, Eon is just cleaning up the battlefield before his hallucination skill expires. Masterfully swinging and swerving his two blades, the adventurer cuts up the unmoving raiders into little pieces. No mercy. Damn. Witnessing this bloody sight, the boss gets startled. Wondering who the hell the kid is, he doesn't understand why they aren't able to stop him. In a panic, the boss hurries his underlings to shoot Eon. Following the command, the raiders bring out a gigantic cannon, loaded up on the shoulders of a massive man. As Eon gets confused at what he is seeing, the cannon is lit up and fired. Speeding at an immense pace, the projectile almost instantly appears right in front of the boy. The seeming collision causes a massive impact, prompting the smug raiders to celebrate at a job well done. Just then, "Phew, Kay, I can't believe that actually worked," resounds on the battlefield. As the huge cloud of smoke dissipates, it reveals an unharmed Eon, standing right there, holding the cannon's projectile in his aura-enveloped hand and telling the raiders that they are really good practice. The aura that surrounds the boy's hand right now is the level 1 skill named Infuse, using 3 Madness. It allows the user to infuse a body part or object with corrupt energy, temporarily enhancing the infused part's physical damage and strength. At this point, Eon has completed 9 out of 20 kills for the quest. Grasping the projectile tightly with his claw-like aura, Eon brings it back towards himself and takes a stance. He then tells the raiders to catch, throwing the projectile at them faster than the cannon did. The boss barely manages to avoid it by jumping out of the way, but his underlings are just left frozen in place. Zipping past the raiders at an immense speed, the projectile takes out some of them with a direct impact and kills a few others with a giant explosion. Startled at the feat, the boss wonders what is up with the kid's claw-like arm. This kid, he is thinking when the onslaught continues. Eon charges at the remaining raiders, ripping apart one of the faces with his ferocious aura-infused limb. With the quest progress being 16/20ths, the boy leaps at another man, slashing up his chest. And now there were 3, as the boss finishes his thought, "Is he a monster?" Oh, how the turntables, people used to call him useless and stuff. Getting cornered, the raiders decide to make a last-ditch effort and use the hostages as meat shields. Running behind the old man and a short-haired girl, the 2 underlings smugly put their knives to the former two's throats. Eon refuses to just stand by and let this happen, shouting out, "No, you don't," at the duo. Once again, the boy's eyes begin glowing a bright purple, making the raiders fall in his hallucination. As the 2 men's eyes begin to glow purple themselves, they get frozen in place. The duo then clutches their heads like lunatics, dropping their weapons. This is followed by shrieking screams and wild movements, as if they were in immense agony. Ignoring their cries, Jan just tells the raiders that they truly are scum for trying to use the innocent as shields for their crimes. He gathers even more energy in his claw-like arm and brutalizes the ever-living crap out of the two. The now freed hostages look on, as the kid before them sends their attackers flying off into the distance, creating a massive explosion and a huge smoke cloud where they land. Witnessing the scary adventure firsthand, the boss of the raiders begins cowering in fear and falls to the ground. Meanwhile, Jan has a monstrous expression on his face and gets even more riled up by Kay telling him, "One more." Yes, definitely rile him up more. That's a good idea. Suddenly, the boy turns towards the last target. Dragging himself backwards and away from the kid, the boss begs for mercy from him. Whimpering, the former tells the latter that he doesn't need to do this. However, hearing this only makes Jan even more furious. Stomping his feet into the ground, the boy looks down on the fallen boss, remarking that he didn't need to hurt the people of the village either. Keep the women, they will fetch a decent price, kill the rest. Jan asks the raider's boss if those words ring a bell. While the man averts his gaze, the furious kid tells him that he will just continue this cycle if he is let go. Suddenly, Jan feels an ominous sensation come over himself. His madness meter has reached 13/100ths, creating changes in his demeanor. The boy bursts into a wide grin like the Mad King, while Kay tells him to man up as he can surely handle more than that. In the same vein, the little blob warns Eon to watch out and be careful, as the raider's boss plans to take full advantage of this opportunity. Bringing out a small blade from his waist, the man charges right at the boy. From where? However, the desperate attempt at exploiting a moment of hesitance proves to be completely and utterly futile. Simply putting up his infused arm in the attack's trajectory, Jan shatters the boss's blade into tiny fragments. With his moment of defeat finally at hand, the Raiders' leader doesn't throw a tantrum or a fit. Instead, he simply accepts his fate and remarks that perhaps is what they deserve for all they have done, an executioner. In his current state, Jan fits the role quite perfectly, glowing with an ominous aura, covered in blood, grinning and laughing like a maniac. He checks all the boxes. And so, the boy swings his claw at the Raiders' boss, separating even the bones from his flesh. With this, all 20 of the pillagers required for the quest's completion get dealt with, earning 100 XP from it. Jan is congratulated by the system of the Mad Gate as it levels him up to 2. Somewhere in the world outside, a brown-haired lady wearing a knight armor, awfully reminiscent of Tor, apologizes to a grandma and a little blue-haired girl that looks like Eon. While the granny tries to console the crying child, the latter continues to well up with tears. The former explains that the strongest adventurers were with him, so it must have been quite a fight. However, the girl just keeps on crying that Eon is dead. Looking at the startled knight lady, she asks how that happened. The little one whimpers, "Didn't you promise you'd protect him? Heya." Afterwards, the brown-haired woman from earlier marches through a grassy field and is still shook up from what she saw. The previous day, the 4 horsemen arrived back at the village, having cleared the Mad Gate. They received a hero's welcome, with the people praising them for doing what was expected of the world's strongest and saving them. Arian, Silenus, and Alexandria march on proudly, while Tor's sad expression seems to be one full of guilt for killing the boy for the riches. "Oh, come on now, where was this when you killed him, dude?" Arriving at the castle, the group of adventurers bows down and briefs the Emperor about communicating with the infernal Lord of Insanity, the Mad King. Wearing a white mask on his face, Emperor Hasten of Herodia remarks that no human before them has come in contact with such a being. He continues on about how dungeons have appeared around Herodia at triple the rates ever since the Mad Gate showed up. With his spiky blue head of hair and bloodshot eyes poking through the mask, the man says something has changed. Hasten then tells the 4 horsemen that although he is aware that they just got back, that he will need them to help the other adventurers to clear the dungeons, since this is due to the Empire being short-staffed and will be troublesome for the strongest adventurers. They will be given double the rewards for their services. While Arian assures the Emperor that they will do their best, Tor continues to look down at the floor in a state of empty-mindedness. Observing this behavior from Tor, Hazen calls out his name. As the man gets startled, the Emperor asks him what he feels about their victory over the Mad Gate. Hearing this, Tor thinks about what to say and remarks that it was unsatisfying. With a cool and calm demeanor, Hasten just lets out, "I see," dismissing the 4 horsemen. Marching on out of the castle, the group of adventurers is met with a knightly woman. Stomping her feet, she tells Tor that she doesn't see Eon with him and angrily asks where he is. These words hit like daggers for the man. who seems to be full of guilt for sacrificing his personal assistant and friend inside the Mad Gate. "He's gone," remarks Tor, walking past Hia and apologizing to her for not being able to protect Ian. "Someone give this guy an Oscar." These words leave the woman frozen in place, not even having the courage to ask what happened. Back in the grassy field, Haya thinks about how Ian is a part of her past and a side of her that she has long since cast away. Putting her palms against a hill, she remembers always thinking that the kid would live a long life. Looking back on all this makes the knightly lady absolutely furious. Clenching her teeth, she shouts out in frustration and throws an earth-shattering punch at the hill. As the smoke from the impact settles, Haya feels the weight of Ian's life bearing down on her despite not being there when he died. When the two were younger, the boy used to give the lady flowers and took an oath that he will always be here. However, as they grew, Haya became stronger. This time, it was her to swear that she would protect Ian. Though things became complicated as they grew even older, and the boy got left even further behind. Holding his hand out behind the lady as she marched off, he so desperately wanted to reiterate his childhood oath but was unable to even fake being tough. Now, once again, it was Haya swearing to do something for Ian, to avenge him. And so, she was off stomping away from the massive trail of destruction left behind by her, worthy of her title as the Rank 1 World Adventurer. Having been saved by Ian, the surviving villagers shower him with their gratitude. The boy gets flustered and tries to play it off, telling them that it was no problem at all. He is about to say something more, but is caught off guard as a girl begins to cry, huffing and puffing. She tries to say that all of them would be dead if it weren't for the boy. As Ian hears this, he smiles a bit. Looking down, the boy remarks that he knows what it feels like to be helpless in a situation of hopelessness. With a gentle smile, Ian expresses how glad he is that he got there just in time. Filling all the villagers with hope using his uplifting words, the boy tells them that they should give the fallen a proper burial. The next morning, a wild gust of wind blows over the buried villagers' graveyard. Wishing Ian good luck on his journey, the survivors promise him that the village will be rebuilt the next time he visits and that the ultimate feast will be prepared for him. Smiling giddily, the boy waves them goodbye, remarking that he looks forward to it. So freaking wholesome. At this moment, when the villagers wave back at him, only one thought is running through Ian's mind. Is this what it's supposed to feel like, being a hero? Heading off and remembering the scene of his death, the boy tells Kay that he wants to be stronger. He wants to do it so he can become a top adventurer and help even more people. And the image of the 4 horsemen pops up in his brain. While the boy goes deep in thought, the smug Kay hovers over him, remarking that he gets it and that there is no need to be such a crybaby. The blob then proclaims that this is only the beginning, telling Ian that we will wake him the strongest. So, over the next few weeks, the boy focused on leveling up, from slaying monstrous creatures to returning tabby cats to their owners to complete quests. He did everything that would grant him XP. Leveling up to 3, he acquired quite a few attribute points and new skills. There are 5 attributes: intellect, strength, agility, stamina, and spirit. Whilst having 5 points in the first 4, Ian has 10 points allotted to the 5th, putting even the 11th in it. He wants to put more points into spirit because Kay told him that it would increase his mental fortitude, which would help combat his descent into madness as his madness meter goes higher. The boy needs it as well, because despite trying to use the Mad King's powers sparingly, he realizes that his own strength is far from enough. Sounds like a skill issue to me. Even now, Ian is surrounded by the corpses of smaller beasts and monsters that he took care of with his blades. However, when a gigantic horned creature shows up, he is forced to rely on the system of the Mad Gate, using the Infuse skill to bring out the ominous claw. Leaping into the air, Ian uppercuts the massive beast with a thunderous force. As the monster splatters blood everywhere from its mouth, the boy envelops his leg with the Mad King's energy as well. Following up his fists, he lands a rocking kick on the beast. The impact from the blow is so great that the huge monster is sent flying like a pebble, eradicating even the countless trees in the forest while moving through the air. And so, bursting forth with the power bestowed upon him by the Mad King, Ian is able to stand in the arena with opponents he could never even imagine facing before. Standing witness to the destruction caused by himself, the boy lets out a massive grin, getting riled up by the exhilaration of witnessing his own ascension. Having reached 27/100th madness on the madness meter, Ian thinks that it won't be long until he catches up to Tor or Willet. After all, quests and monsters can grant only so much XP. 1 month passes after defeating the raiders, and Ian stands at a pier. Kay remarks that the best way to become stronger and get better gear is to clear dungeons. Why did they not think of this before? Following this, the boy boards a large ship belonging to the Silver King's Guild, ready to embark towards the new dungeon, the Underwater Kingdom. On board the ship, a voice calls out for Ian. It remarks that he must be their new mercenary adventurer, making the boy look in the direction it is coming from. As the boy does so, he sees a man thunderously jumping atop the deck. This is Falcon, the leader of the Silver King's Guild. Wearing an eye patch and smoking a big cigar, the furious man scolds his guild members, telling the idiots that he told them about not needing outsiders for help. Upon hearing this, a curvaceous glasses-wearing lady named Talia lets the boss know that they had the budget for it. Being the second rank amongst the Silver Kings, she remarks that getting the outsider was necessary for a dungeon of this caliber. A green armor-wearing man named Wen, the third ranked in the guild, responds to her, asking if they really needed 2 mercenaries, out of which one is a kid. Kay pouts at the insolence, while Eon tells the 3 top ranks that he isn't a kid. Letting out a big smoke cloud from the cigar, Falcon replies that they aren't talking about him. Suddenly, they hear some shouting on the ship. A blonde-haired kid is devouring large amounts of food like it is his last day on the planet, while the guild members of the Silver Kings scold him for doing so as the food was meant for their leader. While Eon and the others look on at the commotion, the smug kid just pokes his own nose. He tells the guild folks that if that is really the case, and maybe the boss should fight him for it. This cocky blonde-haired individual is the other mercenary adventurer besides Eon, named Leo, a mysterious entity. As the guild members prepare to make the little brat pay for his cockiness, Falcon remains unamused. Calm and collected, he puts his hands in his pockets and announces to set sail now that everyone is here. Wen appreciates how lively things have gotten already, while the pouty Kay and Eon wonder if this Leo is too young to be an adventurer already. However, upon seeing the little kid fend off the guild members while keeping the drumsticks safe in his hands, Eon remembers that Haya was the same age when she first started adventuring. Reminiscing on the last time they met each other, he feels a bit sad and wonders how she is doing nowadays. Thinking that the girl is probably off saving the world, the boy feels a little bit optimistic. Looking at the bright blue sky, Eon smiles, hoping that one day he can stand before Haya as an equal. Just then, the sun gets covered by a flying body. It, of course, is the cocky Leo who has been sent flying by someone. Avoiding the kid as he comes slamming down on the deck, Eon tells him to watch it. Getting a backbone. You love to see it. Getting up, Leo grits his teeth at the boy and asks him if he wants to fight too. Hearing this, Kay bursts laughing, remarking that he may hate everyone else but likes the little funny one. The Mad King's prodigy looks at him annoyed, wondering why him and the little kid are so annoying. Meanwhile, Talia tells Falcon that all the necessary preparations for departure have been made. Helming the ship, the latter steers around in a quick burst. This makes Leo and Eon lose footing, sending the former face first down on the ground. Coming to a halt, Falcon tells everyone on board to listen up. He proclaims that today, the Silver King's Guild will clear the D-ranked dungeon of the sunken city, Atlantis, remarking that this is their chance to make a name for themselves. The leader riles up his troops. He announces that clearing Atlantis is only the beginning of their ascension, with the end goal being to become the greatest guild in all of Herodia. Lighting up a new cigar, Falcon tells his guild members that if they follow him, they will go down in history as heroes. While the Silver Kings cheer and rally behind their leader, Eon wonders how a guild that is still clearing D-ranked dungeons has such abundant resources. Thinking back to his time with the Four Horsemen, the boy is reminded of Tor in a few ways by the guild master's ambitions. Suddenly, the usually upbeat Kay seems to hold stern for a moment. What is wrong with bro? Seeing this, Eon asks him if something is wrong, getting told that it's nothing. The blob remarks that it was just an odd feeling. He thought that he sensed a familiar aura. As the ship continues to sail in the massive body of water, someone lets out a wild laughter, remarking what a riot it is. This laughing maniac is the infernal lord of insanity himself, the Mad King. Looking on at Eon through a mirror-like object while sitting atop his throne, the entity slams his hand to his face. They are on their way to him. The Mad King grins, proclaiming that it seems like he won't have to wait so long after all. Having been tied upside down to one of the ship's poles due to constant mayhem, Leo causes a ruckus, remarking that the douchebags paid him to help them with the dungeon. The kid demands to be let down and untied or else. He would make them regret it, though. All the shouting in the world doesn't make a single soul stop to help him down. Furious, the mercenary adventurer continues to move around, cursing out the guild members as he knows that they can hear him. Standing by the kid, Jan is holding some food and drink. He tells Leo that what he is doing now won't get him help from anyone, getting screamed at in return. The latter remarks that he didn't ask for advice from a twerp, demanding to be cut down from there. With a gentle smile on his face, the boy just says that it's against the captain's rules to do so, while Kay looks down on the kid, annoyed at who he's calling a twerp. Just then, Jan pops open the cap from the bottle he was holding and tells Leo that he still wants to help him however he can. What a sweet guy. Trying his best to act like he doesn't care for the friendly gesture, the kid just pouts and says, "Fine, whatever." The boy then puts the drink up against Leo's mouth and ends up spilling it everywhere, annoying the kid instead, as Jan apologizes for the splash and blames it on the little one being upside down. Kay looks on in disappointment at the two idiots. Afterwards, the two adventurers hold a conversation. Sitting down beside the tied-up Leo, Jan remarks that he hasn't heard of a name like his ever before in southern Herodia. The kid remarks that it's because he is from the north, revealing that he was a farmer before he became an adventurer. Getting excited hearing this, Jan tells Leo that it was the same case with him, with the difference being that the kid is a lot younger than the boy was when he started adventuring. While on the topic, Jan questions the little one why he started so early in a profession where the lifestyle just reeks of danger. He asks Leo if his family was okay with him choosing this life, triggering terrible memories in the kid's mind. The mercenary adventurer remembers his family dying in a shipwreck, but doesn't reveal this information to the boy, telling him that they were in fact fine with it. Leo remarks that with these dungeons suddenly awakening, he knew that he couldn't just sit still on his farm while all the monsters roamed about and wreaked havoc. Wanting to get out there and make a difference, he became an adventurer, aiming to become the strongest, someone who was even stronger than the legendary Silenus. If only he knew. Hearing this, Jan lets out a chuckle at the fact that such a proud kid is willing to admit that he looks up to someone. The boy then tells Leo that he has actually met Silenus before. Remembering the barrage of fists that ended his past life, Jan remarks that the horseman's raw strength is unmatched. Upon hearing this, the otherwise cocky kid lights up. He can't believe that the boy met his idol, telling him that he must have been in awe standing next to someone like Silenus. Leo thinks that saving the world from monsters and dungeons with pure strength sounds pretty cool, remarking that it's what a hero should be. Though, hearing these words just reminds Eon of how he used to think in his past life, getting flooded with the image of getting torn to pieces in his last moments by the kid's idol. Shaking it off, the boy praises Leo for being pretty ambitious for his age and tells him that he respects that. Amidst all this, Kay strangely seems to be in a world of his own. Seriously, someone check on bro. Suddenly, one of the lookouts announces that they are approaching a maelstrom ahead. Falcon listens to this and remarks that they are finally here, telling the Silver Kings to get to their stations. Everyone rushes off, and so does Eon, leaving the kid tied upside down to the pole. Watching them helplessly, Leo shouts out at the boy to wait and cut him down first. Though, Eon just stands near the sail, getting distracted by the sight ahead. While he can't believe his eyes at the ominous raging maelstrom at the Atlantis dungeon's entrance that is sucking in the ship, Kay seems to be uncharacteristically quiet even at this moment. Just then, Wen approaches Eon and remarks that it's such a magnificent sight. He says that the storm has raged non-stop ever since the awakening of Atlantis, revealing that the only way to get to the dungeon is diving straight into the swirling pool itself. Having a confused look on his face, Eon asks the third rank of the Silver Kings if their ship can even survive that maelstrom. He wonders how they are supposed to get out even if they somehow get to Atlantis. Shrugging himself off, Wen tells the boy not to worry as they have planned for this, wondering if he has such little faith in them. Listening to such a half-assed response, Eon ponders why the man is dodging his questions. He is so deep in thought that even a giant octopus arm appearing from the water, and even Kay's warning about it doesn't snap him out of it. Though, Eon finally comes to when the huge limb wraps around him. Yup, totally a good time to wake up. While the monstrous creature continues to drive the boy off into the water, Wen and Leo look on in awe, caught as off guard as Eon himself. Struggling in the monster's clutch as he gets dragged into the swirling maelstrom, the blue-haired adventurer tries to reach for his blade. He manages to unsheathe the sword just in time, cutting up the beast's limb into takoyaki. Shouting out "infuse" after, the boy envelops his arm with his signature purple energy and gives it the claw-like form. This time, he doesn't use it like a weapon, but instead, punches the swirling maelstrom at its core. Using the momentum from the impact, Eon jumps back towards the ship and gets caught by Wen, while the latter makes sure the former is okay. The boy just breathes a sigh of relief that he is still alive, getting praised by Kay for his smart use of infusion. The third-ranked Silver King member looks at Eon's infused arm, wondering if this is magic of some sorts. Suddenly, He gets asked by the boy if that thing was some sort of big octopus, remarking that it is something much worse. The confused Wen reveals that it's a kraken. He wonders what the hell a legendary monster of that caliber is doing around here, guarding a mere D-rank dungeon. Just then, another limb pops out of the water and takes a guild member down into the water. What follows makes everyone on board the ship freeze up for a moment. Several more giant kraken limbs erupt from the ocean, sending rippling shockwaves across the water. While Falcon issues a command to the Silver Kings to attack, Yan stands before the beast, wondering how they are going to kill it. IDK, shouldn't you know, dude? His train of thought gets interrupted, though, by a loud Leo shouting out his name. The kid asks the boy to hurry up and cut him loose, urging Eon to believe him when he says that he can help them. Eon listens and heads to free him, ignoring Wen's instructions to not do it, proclaiming that now is not the time to be fighting amongst themselves. The boy cuts up Leo's ropes with his infused claw. We need all the help we can get, don't you think? Eon tells the man, uttering no words as he knows that the boy is right. Wen stands there silent. Right then, Talia calls out for her fellow guild member, shouting at him to look behind. However, it is too late to react as the kraken's limb has slithered too close to him. Before Wen is able to move at all, Eon has jumped behind him. Using his infused claw, the boy pops the kraken's limb like a balloon. Witnessing this immense power up close, the third-rank guild member is stunned and questions where Talia found such a guy. Another guild member gets grabbed by the kraken during this, prompting Eon to jump for him. Seeing this, Kay tells him that he can't save everyone and should instead focus on killing the monster. This enrages the boy, who doesn't plan on standing by to watch these people die. Suddenly, an eerie sensation comes over him and Eon hears a voice telling him that Kay is right, getting overwhelmed by the ominous feeling. The boy falls down to the ground in agony. Their sacrifice is necessary to save everyone else. The Mad King's voice talks to him. While his madness meter goes up to 31/100ths, let the descent into madness begin. During this time, Wen shoots down the kraken's arm and removes its hold on the guild member. Though, it ends up leaving him right above the water and screaming for help. In a flash, someone grabs onto the man and saves him. Laughing out loud, this figure smugly tells the guild members that he told them to let him go earlier and demands that they better thank him when he blasts the big squid to pieces. It is Leo, who is holding a giant magic scroll in one of his arms and the guild member in the other, riding a massive flaming phoenix. Having been overcome by a maniacal madness not too long ago, Yan feels relieved that Leo is here to pick up the slack. However, even the kid's presence is not enough to manage everything. Another quick strike from the kraken captures a guild member again, overwhelming the battlefield once more. This time, Falcon is the one to save the day. Cutting up the beast's limb with his blazing sword, the guild leader issues an order: slay this kraken. Hearing the command, Yan remembers Kay's words about killing the monster and his own proclamation of wanting to get stronger. The boy realizes that he needs to trust that the Silver Kings can protect each other, deciding to focus on what he came here to do. Marching on with his infused claw, Yan calls out for Wen, telling him not to let anyone else die. The boy announces that he will be the one to end this monster and jumps right in towards the maelstrom. In the middle of his jump, he gets his arm caught by the airborne Leo. Reiterating Eon's words about killing the kraken, the kid tells him to get in line. Flying around, the boy reveals that the only way to slay the kraken is a blow to the crystal on its forehead. Eon asks Leo to take him closer to one of the beast's tentacles. Is bro crazy? As the latter gets confused, the former questions if he trusts him. The kid is about to say that he doesn't since he just met Eon, but stops mid-sentence. He remembers everything that the boy did for him ever since getting on the ship. From sharing his drink to cutting him loose, Leo gets a soft spot for him and follows his instruction. Flying close to his requested tentacle, the kid lets Eon go. Charging headfirst at the monstrous beast, the Mad King's protege realizes that what he is doing is actually really crazy after all. Pulling out his blade, the boy grapples onto the kraken's tentacles as he slides through the beast's limb. Yan tells himself not to think about how dangerous this is, given that he just needs to act in order to save everyone. Of course, the kraken wasn't going to let someone cut up his tentacle for free. Getting angst, the beast swings at the boy. Kay sees this and warns him. So Eon jumps right out of the way and lands onto the limb that the monster swung at him. Dude's out here styling on the beast. Though the kraken doesn't have only 2 tentacles. Swinging once more, the beast almost catches the insect scratching away at him this time. Almost, Eon leaps away, making the monster strike himself. While this is going on, Wen and Falcon are on the ship, talking about how the kraken has stopped attacking the ship. The The two have no clue why that is. What they do know is that the beast is only interested in Eon right now for some reason. Getting uneasy due to the boy's shenanigans, the Kraken starts going wild in the body of water. Leo flies around in the sky, frustrated that he can't get close to the beast. Eon uses the beast's tentacles like a skiing range and slides around, getting closer and closer to the crystal that will end the beast. However, all the hope comes tumbling down when the Kraken swings and doesn't miss. Catching the boy with a direct hit, the beast finally sends the pesky ant flying. That must feel good? No. Falcon, Wen, Leo, and Kay all get stunned at the sight, while the Mad King bursts into a maniacal grin. And so, Eon falls into the deadly swirling maelstrom. Where's Bro going? The end, for now.